Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm going to talk about mature males. Now I'm not talking about myself, I mean mature male tarantulas. Now if you don't know, male tarantulas, they get quite a rough deal compared to the females. Now they have much shorter lives than females, and sometimes they do get eaten when they do find a mate. So they have a short life and they can meet a very grisly end. So for this reason, you don't really see much about male tarantulas. You certainly don't see many videos about, male tarantulas on their own. So there are things which you can do to prolong the life of a mature male tarantula. Now, once they reach that mature molt, that ultimate molt, they have one mission in life, and that is to find a female. So this can make them quite restless, and it can make them quite skittish as well. So there are things that you can do to to make them live a little bit longer and to minimize the risk of them injuring themselves. So I'm going to show you three mature males which I have in my collection at the moment. Now you've probably seen these spiders on the channel before, but I didn't actually buy them as males. I bought them as unsexed juveniles, and they've matured out as male. So I wouldn't actually buy just a male to keep as a pet personally, but I know some people do. But yeah, I'm going to show you the three males that I've got at the moment and how I keep them, and just what you can do, to give them a comfortable life. Now, breeding, it's not for everyone. It's a very big logistical thing. So some people, they have male tarantulas and they just want to see them out. So yeah, let's get into the video and have a look at these guys.
So in here I have my big male Robustum, the Colombian redleg. Now your male tarantulas, they can be very skittish. This particular guy is absolutely bonkers. So when I take this top off, pretty much guarantee he's gonna try and defend himself. You can see there he's ready to go. So I've got myself a nice big bra plast as a catch cup. That might seem a bit drastic, but he's a big guy and they do flatten themselves out quite a lot as well. But you can see there straight away he's galloping around. Now these guys, they have a very different defense mechanism. They're not the type of tarantula to lash out and try and bite you normally. It's the back end which is their main defense. So they have these extremely spiky back legs, and some of these urticated hairs really do affect me quite badly. So you can see there straight away they point their back end at you. Now I'm just going to try and get this water dish out. Well, I just want to add a little bit more substrate here and sort his hide out, because you can see there that I'm going to try and sort his hide out because he has filled the hide in a little bit there. Now it's not going to be easy to catch him with this bit of wood in here, so I should imagine I might have to take that out. And you can see he's just charging around. Yeah, I'm going to have to get this bit of wood out of here, I think. So I've managed to drag the bit of wood out, so should make catch him up a little bit easier. I would normally use like a cricket tub as a catch cup, but say these guys, they flatten themselves out, and you can see that he's a really leggy tarantula. There we go. Well, I'm just going to pop him down. Now, I want to put a little bit more substrate in here. Now, one of the things with big, heavy-bodied tarantulas like this one is, being a male, they are quite restless, and they do like to wander about a little bit. So one of the things you can do, to keep a big tarantula like this safe is get yourself a nice low-sided container, or if you do have a high-sided container, put a nice amount of substrate in there. So if they do climb up the side and they do fall, they'll be fine. Now, when this tarantula was younger, he did actually build quite a decent sized tunnel, but now he's mature, he doesn't really dig anymore, he just kind of stays on top. Now, another thing with your male tarantulas, this might seem like quite a small container for such a big spider, but because your male tarantula will wander around, one of the ways you can kind of prolong their life a little bit is to give them a little bit less space. So, they don't just walk themselves to death, if you like. Because they don't really feed as often as, as other tarantulas, it can be, if they're wandering around all day and not really eating much, obviously, that will shorten their life slightly. So I'm just going to keep it a nice, simple setup. I'm going to pop a little bit of moss in here. I went out yesterday and got myself some nice fresh moss. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy with wetting this moss or anything, because in a storage container they can get a little bit too moist in there. Now, one thing super important with your mature males is a water dish. So we'll just pop this guy back into his enclosure. Now, with your mature males, very, very important to give them a water dish. They do drink quite a lot. They do drink quite often. So it's definitely something which is very, very important, I would say. They are a little prone to dehydration, and they don't always feed quite as regularly, maybe as in the past. But I want to talk about feeding in the next part of the video, because some people, once they get a mature male, some people think you have to stop feeding them, but it's definitely not the case. Now, this is my little Harpictera pulchripes. Now, when it comes to feeding your mature males, some people seem to think that you have to almost stop feeding them. Now, this little guy in particular has always been a really good feeder. Since he's matured, that hasn't changed at all with this particular tarantula. Now, some males can completely go off food. Best thing to do, give them food, offer them food. If you come in the next day and it hasn't eaten, just remove the prey item. Sometimes, they can get a little bit stressed out with crickets and things running around, certainly, when they're mature like this. So, but yeah, offer them the food. If they don't take it, just remove it. Try again the next week. It's really not a big deal as long as you have a water dish. Some weeks they will just drink. So it's something which, some people seem to think you almost have to stop feeding them, and that's definitely not the case. Now you can see this little guy, he's always accepts food. So obviously it helps, keep them alive a little bit longer. Now, I have had baboon mature males that have literally only lasted a matter of months. So this little guy is doing really well, and hopefully I'm going to be able to try and find a female for this one. But the difference in size between the males of the H. pulchripes and the females is absolutely comical, because the females, they do get to around about sort of 5 and 5.5 inches, And this little guy is not really much bigger than a large spiderling. But yeah, on the next part of the video, I'm going to show you my last mature male that I have at the moment, and that's my big Peoratus. So it's a lot more civilized than the Robustum, that's for sure. So how can you tell that you have a mature male tarantula? Now this is my Phomictopus auratus, the Cuban bronze. Now this guy has really mellowed out as he's got older. He was quite a defensive tarantula when he was young, or certainly a skittish tarantula, but he's a perfect candidate to try and show you how to identify the mature male. Now thankfully he's come right up to the side of the container here, so you can get a really good look. Now this huge hook that you see on the front here, now they have these on their two front legs. Now tarantulas, they mate face to face, so they use these hooks to try and push the female up, just to try and stay away from their fangs. So it's kind of like a safety measure really, to try and stop themselves getting eaten. Now not all tarantulas have tibial hooks, so another way you can tell you have a male is the emboli. Now it's the two appendages at the front there. Now when your male matures, these turn into this kind of club-like shape. Now this is what they actually use to inject sperm into the females. So it's why they have the hooks, because it really is quite precarious for the males. So that's how you can tell you have a mature male. Now I hope you've enjoyed today's video, having a little look at the males. You don't really, these guys don't really get much attention. So but I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic Christmas, and you'll see me again very soon.